What's going on, everybody out there, and welcome back to another Dark Avengers Chaotic Comic Reviews. I'm Chris, Dark Avengers C86, and this episode we're going to be talking about not 1 week, but 2 weeks worth of books because beginning of the month, Easter, things got super busy, and unfortunately I couldn't record an episode. So this episode I'm going to be talking about books I read last week as well as the week before last week. In this episode we're going to be talking about books that were released on April 4th and April 13th, 2022, a grand total of 14 books and some really cool stuff to talk about this episode. I'm really excited to talk about some new number ones, an event starting up, and then some other interesting books. We're going to be seeing some new books popping up, like I said, now that we've caught up. Here we go. Before we get into the episode, as always, social media links and all other goodies in the description below. Check them out. Also links to Twitch if you enjoy gaming. I do have a little announcement to make at the end of this video. For those of you on YouTube, you're going to be excited. For those of you that watch me on Twitch, you're going to be probably seeing this around the same time as this video goes up. So I'm kind of giving away what it is. But anyway, let's get started. This week we're starting off, or this episode I should say, we're starting off with SpiderPunk issue number 1. Now, I was interested, as always, when a new Spider-Man book comes out, I like to try it. So SpiderPunk, in the SpiderPunk universe, it was an interesting read, I will say that. He's fighting Kraven and a bunch of Nazis who have this power to it. He drops a little bit of a mention to the Spider-Verse here. They do that in all the Spider-Man books now. I mean, you got Gwen's book, now you've got SpiderPunk. This is a mini-series. I like the artwork in the book. It was cool seeing Captain America and apparently Hulk in the SpiderPunk universe. Bruce Banner is keeping him from coming out. We get to see Riri in here. We get some nice action scenes. Again, I'm going to come back for issue number 2. I'm going to try issue number 2. I don't like to just try one issue and give it up. But it was okay. One of definitely my lower tier books for this week. Interesting, something I'd say to give a try to if you're a Spider-Man fan. Again, it depends on if you like the character or if you don't like the character. The artwork was definitely really good, though. So anyway, we're going to go right into the next book, Green Lantern issue number 12, or how I would like to put it, the issue where everybody just stands around and talks while this big glowing orb is in the middle of a planet, of Oa, basically. So John Stewart is fighting off against the god something. I can't remember the name of it, but he's fighting it to keep it away from destroying the planet that his friends and everybody else is on. And obviously the source wall, which has an entity attached to it, is telling him you can't do that. It's unending, the power. But he doesn't care. He's going to keep fighting to keep it from exploding. On the other end, it's just back and forth talking about the energy. What's happened? What's going on? Is anything happening? Then Hal Jordan gets his ring back. Hal Jordan gets his old ring back. Not the one that he forged, but the original ring that he had from Abin Sur. And he gets powered back up. We find out that this source ball has all of the lantern powers in it. So I guess all the Green Lantern rings died. So they brought all the lantern rings there. They all got sucked into the ball and got all their powers back. However, some Green Lanterns turned into Blue Lanterns and some turned into Star Sapphire. So apparently some Green Lanterns didn't go back to being Green Lanterns. They went into other cores, which is interesting and definitely something that we could touch on in future stories. If there are future stories, from the way this book felt, especially because it's an issue 12, I feel like this was a 12-issue maxi. The way they made it sound, especially the ending where it says, well, we'll get into the ending. Let's not jump the gun too fast. But anyway, so they all get their powers back. Yay, hooray. And then John Stewart finally accepts becoming the Emerald Knight or whatever. And he comes back because the source wall somehow saves him. And he takes on his ascension and his future state, and he returns to save Oa and basically lead the new Emerald Knights. And that's how the book ends, with the Emerald Knight and Knights will return. I did love the artwork in this book. I love the story in this book. Just a lot of waiting around for this book. This book really felt like the waiting book, and it's a lot of talking, a lot of exposition, definitely. Next up, we have Batman Killing Time, issue number 2. Another one where Batman's trying to figure out who stole the box. He interrogates Killer Croc. You've got Catwoman and Riddler. Catwoman is super pensive because she's like, he's going to figure it out. And then when he figures out what we did, he's going to kill us. And we find out how Catwoman found out about the box, why she teamed up with Riddler, why Riddler decided he wanted to work with her, and that he had some buyer for this box. We still don't know what's in the box. And then Batman goes and interrogates Killer Croc's girlfriend, and finally the pieces come together by the end of the issue. But is it too late? Because the buyer for whatever's in this box is now right at Riddler and Catwoman's door. I like how it built up where it went back in time and then back to present and back in time. So it showed how Catwoman found out about the box from, spoiler, Joker. And then how she approached Riddler about it then while they were in Arkham together. And then later on how Riddler approached her with the idea and then how they executed it basically. Good book. Batman finally learns where they are, and like I said, he's racing off to catch them, so the next issue is going to be him catching up to them. This was a good book. Good artwork. I like how the story progressed. I love how the little questions that we had from the first issue, like how did she know, like the hows and whys, all came together in this issue, and now we're just going to move forward with what happens next. And really good. I enjoyed this issue a lot. Definitely something to be checking out. Venom number 7. Oh, poor Dylan. Dylan fights Bedlam in this issue. And Venom is actually trying to push Dylan to saying, we're not Spider-Man. You know, sometimes you gotta kind of let us do what we gotta do. You know, your no killing rule is going to get a lot of innocent people killed. And the fight with Bedlam was cool. I love the dynamic between the Venom symbiote and Dylan, and then you've got the Life Foundation who's now chasing after Dylan, and then he finally is able to catch up to Jake, and unfortunately it's too late. In this book also there's other stuff going on while Dylan's fighting Bedlam. You see what's going on at Jake's end, and a big fight breaks out between him and the leader of the other biker gang. The other biker gang leader kills him in the end. There's a huge shootout. Dylan shows up too late, everyone's dead, and then Bedlam, who we thought was defeated, isn't defeated. And of course he's not defeated. I mean, you're not going to get rid of a bad guy that easily. He shows back up, big fight breaks out, and then a face reveal that we don't get to see until the next issue. So, we'll have to wait to see who exactly Bedlam is. But I'm looking forward to the next issue. Again, this is another issue kind of like Green Lantern where there's a lot of exposition, but there's some good balance with fighting in here that I liked a lot. And I'm looking forward to seeing the big face reveal in the next issue. And then, of course, Dylan's going to be leaving this town, apparently, because you've got, like I said, the Life Foundation chasing after him. Really strong book. I think the next issue actually isn't going to be on Dylan. I think it's going to be actually following Eddie from what the cover looks like. Not sure. We'll have to wait and find out. The next two books are X-Force. We're going to start with X-Force issue number 27. X-Force is dealing with problems on Krakoa. I love how the leaders are now questioning X-Force. Again, I haven't been reading X-Force for a while, yada yada, you know the drill. I've just come back with this issue. Beast is upset because one of his own teammates is the ones that caused the council on Krakoa to start questioning X-Force now, and they're dealing with the Cerebro head apparently takes life of its own. It takes control of Forge for a little bit, and we don't know what it wants yet, but it is slowly eating away at Data. And then on the other end, for those of you that read The Life and Death of Wolverine, you'll know what happened to Omega Red. Well, now somebody in X-Force's team, read the book if I know who, says that X-Force should have a heart. Some agree, some disagree, of course. So what happens is the council decides to resurrect Omega Red with all of his memories and try to make that a kind of like a I forget what it was, but a show of faith, basically, a show of good grace, and maybe Omega Red will stay because it turns out that he was betrayed, and this is how he felt. So they resurrect him. Not the best way, not the best resurrection, because he definitely wants to kill Beast, and Beast is a real asshole now. I don't know what happened to him, but apparently he is, and I'm going to look forward to reading that as we move forward with X-Force, especially after reading the annual, which we'll get to next. But Omega Red's back. Now X-Force is busy, it finds out about the Cerebro head. Now they're chasing after it. They find out Forge is dead. They want to resurrect him, so they find out the information from him. And it kind of just ends with the Cerebro head, which looks like basically a Brainiac ship is now free on Krakoa. We don't know what it wants exactly, but it tapped into a lot of machines through Forge. It had Forge build something, and we don't know what exactly. Maybe it was the legs. Who knows? Interesting issue. I am definitely going to be coming back. I like the artwork in this book. The only art that actually I liked more was in X-Force Annual #1. X-Force Annual #1 was interesting. It's a one story. It's a one-off. There was a tip about people stealing the flowers that create the portals that go to Krakoa. And Beast sends X-Force to intercept and to stop it. Of course, Brand doesn't believe it, and finally questions Beast enough to go to Emma Frost. And Emma Frost shows up and starts questioning Beast, saying, why does this intelligence not sound right? And she doesn't read his mind. She truly and honestly wants him to admit it himself. But there's obviously more going on here. X-Force shows up at the facility, and we really quickly learn that there's no plants there. It's all a test. Putting X-Force to the test. More specifically, Kid Omega to the test. They end up all in their own specific traps. The person who's doing it is now testing to see the weaknesses of each of the X-Force members. However, a volcano erupts Domino's ability, and the X-Force members one by one get freed. They find out that there was no flowers there. However, they did get the files from the facility about the testing and about why they're testing Kid Omega, which was the main focal point of the book, I guess. And again, we keep bouncing back and forth between X-Force and Emma Frost interrogating Beast to the best of her abilities without using her powers. Like I said, there's something going on with Beast. I mean, he literally has, once again, and this isn't the first time, we've seen this post-AVX, I believe. I want to say post-AVX, or maybe it was pre-AVX, where Beast literally has cut his heart off to the world and literally is just logic and no emotion. And I feel like that's what we're getting here with this Beast in X-Force. So Beast, we all find out that Beast knew that it was fake, and he knew that there was a reason for it. So he sent X-Force in there, and he said if they die, I mean, it is a kamikaze mission, and it doesn't matter. And this is my major problem with X-Men. Death doesn't matter. No matter what happens, the X-Men can get resurrected again. They can literally go in on a suicide mission, all die, and then just get resurrected again. That's a huge problem. My other huge problem, when it comes to any X-Men book, and there's another one that we're going to be talking about later on in the review, the charts. I really don't need these charts in the book. I don't need the little extra exposition. There actually was one in X-Force #27 where it literally was a white page, and all that was in it was a quote from Colossus. That's it. A, it's a waste of a page for good storytelling and artwork. B, I don't want the document. I feel like that's an extra that should be in a trade paperback or something. And C, at this point, I mean, I've heard nothing but people complaining about the way X-Men are going right now. For me, I'm interested in where they're going. However, X-Men have not been doing so well. So, I mean, again, I'm just waiting. I mean, from what I remember, this has been going... X-Men has had the same team on it now for at least a good 2-3 years. It might be time to change the lead writer on X-Men. The one thing I can definitely say is I don't need charts, and we don't need the ability for the X-Men to continually be able to resurrect. Again, there is an event that's going to be going on soon with Avengers, X-Men, and Eternals. Why Eternals, I don't know, but whatever. But maybe that'll change a few things. But right now, X-Men feels very weird to me. And again, I'm not worried if any X-Men dies because they're just going to bring him back. Forge died in issue 27. They said, we're going to resurrect him. He's going to come back. He's going to be fine. Death means nothing to the X-Men. And I just... Again, when it comes to the charts, though, I feel like there's so much more you can tell in the story than what you can tell in reading. I'm not buying this comic book to read a chart or to read disposition. If I wanted that, I'd read a book. This is a comic book. You're A, taking away from the art, B, because this is a page that there's no art on it, it's just writing. I want to see story. I don't want 3 pages wasted on text that, I'm going to be honest with all of you, other than that quote that I mentioned from Colossus, I don't read any of the chart pages. I don't care enough to. I really don't. And that's the problem, and I feel like a lot of people are saying that with X-Men. The quote, I don't care enough. And Marvel, knowing that people are saying that, should be doing something about X-Men, yet they're not. However, again, I did enjoy X-Force, the annual. I love how it ended with Kid Omega kind of questioning Beast. He's like, Beast, did you? And he said, nah, never mind. Because they escaped. They end up surviving. Long story. I went into a huge disposition about how X-Men need to get rid of the charts and maybe a new team, a new writing team, or a new head writer on it. But anyway, they escape. They survive. Beast is like, see, look, they survived, Emma. Wow, that proved that they can pass the test or whatever. And they like, we have files from this place. He's like, great, bring them back and we'll check them out. So Beast did this to get more intel on the people that are trying to test the X-Men to protect Krakoa. He said that in both X-Force books. But I guess we'll see where X-Force goes. I did like the annual, and I thought 27 was really good as well, if I didn't say that before I went into the annual. Again, though, these charts need to stop. And I hope that eventually Marvel will listen to the fans, because again, other than myself who's enjoying it, I don't hear many people really enjoying X-Men. And if I'm wrong, there's a comment section. Let me know if I'm wrong. She-Hulk issue number 3. I enjoyed this issue with Jack of Hearts. Again, you know, She-Hulk they want her to get clients. There's a part where she's talking to Ben Grimm about a ticket, but he was out in space. She gets an assistant, which is from the past She-Hulk books. I don't know this character because I didn't read She-Hulk up until now, so forgive me. I don't know who it is. But the bulk of the issue after all of that is her going back to her apartment and talking to Jack of Hearts. We get more backstory. We find out that he's losing his abilities, possibly, his powers. He takes a shower for the first time. We find out he drew the heart on his face. We get a little talk with, oh God, why is the name leaving me at the moment? Anyway, she talks with somebody else. And then she's writing down all this information about Jack of Hearts and why he chose her, and he says basically to apologize because I took your gamma at some point. Again, a story I didn't read, but it was really nice. I love how we're going to be getting more. We got more info on Jack, but now next issue we're going to be getting an actual court case because we have the Thing on the next cover. Very good book. I've been enjoying She-Hulk. It's been a real pleasure to read. The artwork is gorgeous. This book definitely has really nice artwork, if I could say that, and a really strong story. I'm glad that we have Jen back to having intelligence when she's a Hulk and when she's not a Hulk, whereas she was the Hulk for a time until Bruce came back with the Immortal Hulk. Once again, all characters are becoming immortal all of a sudden, but I'm glad to have Jen back, at least the way she originally was. Great book, definitely something to look into. Deadpool Bad Blood issue number 1. Rob Liefeld. Rob Liefeld. This was a fun issue. I was pleasantly surprised. Obviously, I definitely love the artwork in this book. The story is about Deadpool chasing after a super-powered weapon. There's a lot of backstory about this. Takes place back when X-Force is led by Cable and has Domino in it, and so Deadpool's teaming up with Domino, and he's giving her the story about what happened to him and how he got beaten up and whatnot by this character. Name left my mind at the moment, but even Domino kind of questioned it, and then he explained about the machine and that it was created by the person he was working for, who trapped Domino for X amount of months. Again, there's certain things in this story that I didn't read the comics back then, so I don't truly remember it. And it leads back to a place where X-Force was at, and then we get a flashback to X-Force being at that facility, because apparently Deadpool was there too, looking for the super weapon. And then they end up colliding, and the next issue takes place in the past, and it's Deadpool versus X-Force, because apparently this takes place right after the New Mutants thing, so Deadpool is not as good a guy as he is now. This is back when Deadpool was actually a merc. I love the dialogue in this book. Deadpool feels really great. I love reading Deadpool books. Deadpool's personality is always something to really laugh at. There were a lot of jokes thrown in here about, like, your mom's name wouldn't happen to be Martha. That killed me. And then there was something else. There was another reference to something in the book, and it's just, the one thing I love about Deadpool is the fact that he breaks the fourth wall left and right. The Martha thing killed me when we got to that point, when he's fighting this beast, and he's like, your mom's name wouldn't happen to be Martha, would it? And it just, I love Deadpool. If y'all couldn't tell, Deadpool's one of my favorite characters to read, next to Wolverine. Good book, great artwork, definitely something to check out. Okay, the last X-Men book we have, I don't know why I threw She-Hulk in the middle of X-Men, but we have XMen Red issue number 1. I didn't read X-Men Gala. So, you'll understand when I started reading this book and the X-Men were on Mars and calling it Akara or Akara, whatever the heck they call it now. I was like, oh, when did the X-Men get on Mars? So I went on the X-Men wiki, and I read the bullet points for Gala, and so apparently in Gala is when they announced that X-Men were going to colonize a part of Mars. So if you didn't read Gala, and Gala 2 is coming, by the way, I've seen the artwork, or well, not really the artwork, I've seen the costume design, so basically Gala is going to be a big old, show of different costumes, a posh version of the superhero costumes. I did like Spider-Man's for Gala 2, I will say that. But that's what it basically feels like. It's a fashion show, and then big stuff happens, and apparently they're making this a yearly thing. Gala 1 didn't do too well, from what I heard, yet they're doing Gala 2. So, more big thing. Maybe in Gala 2 they'll colonize Jupiter or Pluto. Maybe they'll bring Pluto back or something. I don't know. Or maybe they'll colonize more of Mars. But anyway, if you didn't read Gala, they're on Mars. So X-Men Red is about Mars. And it looks like Brand is trying to put an X-Men team together for Mars. And Storm is not too keen on it. Magneto has gone off on his own. I don't know what happened with Magneto. Again, I haven't been reading. But he's on his own now. He basically wants to go into some type of a solitude. He built his own castle on Mars and just wants to be left alone. So he's not on Krakoa at all anymore. Doesn't want to be bothered. I don't know what happened. Again, anyone in the comments is welcome to fill me in. If not, eventually, either I'll be filled in with X-Men Red, because yes, I am going to continue reading it, or I'll just find out on my own at some point. But yeah, he is on Mars. Brand approaches Storm to lead the new X-Men team, and Storm is having her own little internal problems or mental problems right now, because she is starting to realize, it's all about, she has this, her abilities are fighting her in her mind, saying it's all about your throne and your crowns. That's all it's ever been now that you're doing Krakoa. And finally, I'm liking to see the little cracks in the foundation, because it's true, X-Men definitely does not feel like the X-Men we all knew and loved back in the day. They're all living on Krakoa now. They're immortal, and there's like a royalty hierarchy, and apparently Storm is the queen of Mars. So she turns down Brand, and then she decides, and there's another part where Sunspot has his own, or owns his own bar on Mars. And there's a fight there, and you see Cable, and you see other characters there. One of the Summers brothers, I won't say which one, read the book, causes a ruckus, and Cable shows up and takes them in, and apparently there's a real big problem between him and Nighthawk. Something Hawk? Why did that name, his name, and he was in the X-Force book too. I can't believe it left my mind. But anyway, there's a big ordeal between the two of them. So basically, Sunspot shows up on Magneto's doorstep and wants to work with him, and believes that there needs to be something done on Mars. And then Storm shows up and says, Brand wants to put together an X-Men group, and that's going to lead to problems on Mars, so we need to create the opposite. And Magneto's like, what's the opposite of the X-Men? Are you ready for this? the Brotherhood. So basically, Storm, Magneto, and Sunspot are going to be forming the Brotherhood on Mars to protect Mars, because she's afraid that the X-Men are going to come in and possibly ruin things on Mars. Because they're going to come in and police Mars, basically, and Mars is supposed to be free or whatever. Again, I read this 2 weeks ago. Forgive me if I feel like I'm leaving out points. I'm trying to reread the book in my mind as I'm talking about it, and it's just not all coming to me. Interesting. I'm definitely coming back for the next issue. I love the artwork in this book, I will say that. And I love Storm and a team that's being led by Storm, or maybe possibly Storm and Magneto, because it's the Brotherhood. Either way, I'm looking forward to the next issue, for sure. But definitely understand that if you didn't read Gala, you're not going to understand why they're on Mars. But then again, if you didn't read Gala and you haven't been reading X-Men right along, you're probably not going to pick up X-Men Red. So if you've been reading X-Men, you probably will be picking up X-Men Red. Unless you're like me and just grabbing number ones to see if you're interested. And then I go and do the background studying on things that I missed. Next up, oh God, please get rid of the charts though. I mean, I'm serious here. Marvel, it's been 3 years. I mean, I made fun of it in the beginning. I seriously talked about it in the middle. And now we're towards, I'm hoping, the end of this run at some points as the cracks are starting to form in the foundation. Yeah, charts don't belong in comic books. Not in the abundance that we're getting them in every single issue. I feel like I'm talking and y'all are listening to me. All of you are listening to me, and a lot of you are agreeing with me. But the heads at Marvel are not listening to me, and thus the writers don't care about what we're saying, and they're going to continue what they're doing anyway until their run is done, and then somebody else will come in, and we hope to God it'll be better. Right? Right. So, charts, not something I'm not fond of, as you all know. So, Batman Beyond Neo Year, issue number 1. And here's my big issue with this book, and it has nothing to do with this book, actually. The story started in Batman Urban Legend. Batman Urban Legend is a book that comes out once a month from DC Comics, and it has a bunch of Batman stories in it. And I believe issue 2 or 3 is very hard to come by now. But it's about a $10 book. Maybe an $8 book. I can't remember the price on it. It has a bunch of little stories in it, and the little stories set up things that are going to be going on in Batman. As a person who does not read Urban Legend anymore, the story's origin is from Batman Urban Legend. So if you haven't been reading Urban Legend, you're going to come in, you're going to wonder why Bruce Wayne is dead, why somebody else is running Wayne Enterprises now, and you're just going to be lost because you're not going to know what happened unless you go to your comic shop and pray that that issue is still in stock from Urban Legend, or else you're going to have to go on Comixology and get it digital. They're always available digital. And get the beginning of the story in a different book. I hate that. I hate when people do that, and that's a huge problem for me, because I was lost in the whole beginning of this book, and then it referenced go to Batman Urban Legend issue number whatever. So going into this book, if you're not reading Batman Urban Legend, you need to check out a story, a short story that's in Batman Urban Legend that leads into Neo Year. So Bruce Wayne's dead. Wayne Enterprises is now owned by one of this neon guy, apparently, who wants to take Wayne Enterprises and help reform Gotham City in his image. And apparently he's corrupt, and Terry knows it, and now Terry's Batman, you know, so Batman's trying to figure things out, and, you know, he lost the Wayne fortune, he lost Wayne Enterprises because he screwed up somewhere. So now this whole journey is going to possibly be him trying to redeem himself, get Wayne Enterprises back, and fix Gotham, because even Barbara Gordon's about to retire as commissioner, and he's like, no, and she's blaming herself for all the bad things that are going on in Gotham, and it's really not her fault, but, so, a lot going on in this book, but again, I hate that you have to read a different book to get the beginning of the story when it should have been in this book, or in issue 0. Even in issue 0, which Flashpoint did, and I'm going to talk about that at the end of this review, but something that's not in a different book. Urban Legend, I don't know many people who are still reading that. I know a handful of people who still are, and I know there are some really good stories that are coming out of Urban Legend, but at the same time, there shouldn't be story starters in Urban Legend. It should be in its own book, or its own mini-series, instead of, hey, read this and then in 2 months you're going to be reading the mini-series or where this spirals out of. Because there's a lot of stuff that happened in Urban Legend that nothing spiraled out of. But anyway, I digress. It was a good book. Again, I just wish that they would have had the whole... There's like this whole part of the story that I feel like is missing because I didn't read Urban Legend. So that's where I feel like I lost with this story a little bit. I wish it was in there. I wish it was put in there, or there was like some type of a 2-page sum up of what happened in Urban Legend at least, so at least I know what's gone on, instead of having Terry explain to me in the book what went on and having to put the rest of the pieces together myself, if that makes sense, instead of hearing read Urban Legend. Next up we got Farmhand, issue number 16. I'm glad Farmhand is back. It feels like a hot minute since I've read it, and it has been a hot minute since I read it. It went on hiatus for a while. So in the last issue, which was a while back, the woman who is controlled or has the abilities from the seed that brought her back to life and resurrected her and corrupted her, she walked away and she had full possession of most of the town. And she let the farmer and his family live. Obviously this book takes place a while later, where she now has full control over the town and blocked it off from the rest of the United States. However, more trees are popping up that she controls all over the world, and people want a cure. And they're trying to find one. And I love how this book kind of summed up everything in one page. If you haven't read it, you can read it. It's going to take me a while before I remember everybody's name, but the grandfather is locked away on his own farm, doesn't want to be bothered. There's a place for people who are uninfected to stay away from the infected, and another place where they're trying to come up with a cure. And this girl shows up in this issue, and she wants a cure. She wants to be cured. And she hears that there's a cure. So she's there, and the son shows up and saves her and brings her to a shelter where they're working on a cure. Again, the son, his daughter, and the wife all have abilities connected to this seed also. So what happens in here is the son and daughter are not getting along. The farmer's son and his daughter are not getting along because his daughter wants to go see her grandpa, and she does in this issue. And the son gets angry because he wants nothing to do with the grandfather, especially after everything that happened in the first 15 issues. He wants nothing to do with his father anymore. And we find out at the end of this issue that the granddaughter might actually be talking to the corrupt scientist Lilith, I believe her name is. They're psychically connected, possibly, and she might be corrupting the son's daughter, and that's not good. But I'm happy to have it back. It's great artwork. I left out a bunch of stuff, of course, because again, this is something that I read really quick because I wanted to get this review out. I literally got last week's books a couple of days ago, so I read through most of the books from last week. But I love Farmhands. It was one of my favorite books, and definitely something I recommend everyone check out. If you didn't jump in at the beginning, get the trades. It's worth the read. I loved it. It was a great story. I read it a while back. It's nice to see the next issue, though. Next up, we have Superman, Son of Kal-El, issue number 10. This is the one where Lex Luthor gives a huge speech throughout most of the beginning and middle of the book. And he's talking about how Superman killed a superhero and he can't be trusted and he's this and he's that. And John is just ignoring it and going around saving people and doing what he does best. And of course now the world is scared of him because of what happened, because they believe that he actually did kill another superhero at first. And then Lois shows up, and I love how she just does what she always does and says to Lex, you want to hold this golden lasso over here and then we'll see if you're telling the truth about certain things, because I have my own set of questions. Lex walks off, Lois wins, and we finally start to see that, oh boy, maybe Superman isn't as evil as Lex Luthor was talking about. And of course, in doing this, Batman puts in a protocol where now Superman and his mom, John and his mom, have to go into a Justice League safe house because they pissed off Lex. They pissed off the guy that's running the Rise. And now they're going to be targeting them, and because Clark revealed his identity to the world, which is one of the wonderfully stupid things that Brian Michael Bendis did on his run of Superman, the world knows that John Kent is Superman as well as Clark Kent is the original Superman, and Lois Lane and yada yada. So they got to go into now a Justice League safe house because they don't want to risk them getting hurt, their friends getting hurt, or anybody in the middle to get involved, because obviously Lex is going to want revenge, and so is the guy that leads Rise. So they go away, and I love how Batman, also Lois finds out about John and his boyfriend, and I love the moment where she's like, I love you no matter what. Great, awesome storytelling, great splash page. Now we go back, and we have Batman at the end telling John, you cannot trust. I know this person, I've studied him, I know who he works for, and yada yada, and you cannot trust Jay Nakamura. And John is in that shock pose, so I'm wondering if Jay is using John's caring for him to get something. I don't know. Looks like there's more to Jay than we all knew. We'll find out in the in the coming months, I guess. But yeah, they end up getting taken away. One of the things I hope that DC Comics fixes, especially with the events of Flashpoint and the Dark Crisis or Dark whatever that's coming. Yeah, I think it's Dark Crisis that's happening. Unfortunately, Brian Michael Bendis, I think, is the head of that, which doesn't give me much faith, but we'll see what happens. There's a Dark Crisis coming, and then we have Flashpoint, which I'm going to be getting into next, that's happening, and those are two major events going on in DC, and Flashpoint's actually talking about the multiverse and how 5G was averted. You know, it wasn't. Nobody wanted it, so DC undid it. But I like how they kind of threw that in there, and they actually found a definition for DC in Flash. We're going to get to that. Son of Kal-El, really good. Next we have we have Flashpoint Batman Night of Vengeance, issue number 1, which basically is, it sums up a bit of Batman from Flashpoint, his backstory, before we actually get into the main event of Flashpoint Beyond. And so in this issue we get Batman, we get, I believe it's Thomas Wayne. I don't know if this was taken from other books, but it's him when his wife was still alive. His wife became Joker because Bruce died. So Harvey Dent's children get stolen or kidnapped. It's up to Batman to save them. It turns out that it was Batman's wife, the Joker, and Commissioner Gordon or Gordon gets involved and ends up dying. A lot of bad stuff happens, and this is what then leads into where we were at in Flashpoint. Batman was able to save the two children. It was scarring though for them and the mother. And the reason we find this out is because that was last week's book. Again, that was a huge backstory for the Batman from Flashpoint. If you want it, I definitely recommend checking it out. And also, Justice League Incarnate had Batman from Flashpoint, as well as he returned after the crossover between Batman and Flash in the Button. And then there was also another where he tried to stop Bruce from being Batman, and that didn't obviously work. And then, like I said, it went into Justice League Incarnate, and now we're in Flashpoint Beyond. Flashpoint Beyond opens up with Bruce in the Time Master's house, specifically looking for one object. Why, we don't find out right away, but we see the blackboard with all the stuff, just like we did back when it was Flashpoint. And a lot of things were stated, obviously leading into the next big crisis that's possibly going to be happening. And it might start in Flashpoint, it might work its way into Dark Crisis. I don't know how it's going to work. But anyway, he gets the object. And he's asked, why do you want this object? And then it says at the bottom, Thomas Wayne must die. And he hits it. And I'm guessing that's what leads into the rest of the story, which is Thomas Wayne wakes up. And this takes place after Flashpoint Batman Night of Vengeance, where we find out that Harvey Dent's wife is now in Arkham because she went cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. His daughter ended up killing herself because she couldn't live with what happened in that issue. And the son is now a wreck. And basically Harvey wants Thomas Wayne to go and talk to his wife, or else he's going to bring him to jail. Thomas is like, I shouldn't be here. This all was undone. Barry fixed everything. So he goes after Barry to find Barry, because apparently that Barry from Flashpoint is alive again. Or it's that Barry now, who doesn't remember being the Flash because he never was the Flash. And he tries to reenact, like he tries to convince Barry about, no, you don't remember, but this is your fault, you became the Flash. He tries to do what Flash did to Thomas and tell him that there's another universe. And of course, Barry doesn't believe him, so he ends up saying, okay, we're going to do this the hard way, knocks Barry out. Sets up the experiment that we got in Flashpoint, where it successfully worked and Barry got his Flash abilities back. However, this time, it's not successful because Aquaman somehow found out about what Batman was doing, somehow, some way, and sends an assassin in to try to kill Batman, but instead ruins the setup, and Barry ends up dying instead of becoming the Flash. And now Flashpoint, Thomas is stuck. And now Harvey Dent's coming in to arrest him, and it turns out that that was foiled as well by somebody, one of the agents from Aquaman. Batman ends up saving the child, at least. But now Barry's gone. There's no way to undo Flashpoint, and it looks like Thomas Wayne is going to be taking in Harvey Dent's son as his own, because the father's dead, the mother's in Arkham, and the sister is dead. So where's the boy going to go? And I believe this is going to be the Robin, possibly, of Flashpoint. And we get our first epilogue with someone is in Flashpoint Arkham that is from the original DC Universe saying, Bruce is supposed to be Batman, not Thomas. What am I doing here? I couldn't tell by the artwork who it was, though. So if anybody would like to mention or knows who it is, let me know. But I love that there's someone in the Flashpoint universe that knows that the Flashpoint isn't supposed to exist. And it ends with that. And then the second epilogue goes back to the main DC universe, where one of the Time Masters is talking to Bruce, knows what Bruce did. So basically we find out it was Bruce using whatever device he took at the beginning of the book to bring back the Flashpoint universe and keep his father alive. He's like, I've saved this universe, the something continuum, or the direct continuum, I think it was called. I don't remember exactly. I've saved it multiple times. It owes me one. And basically he feels that it owes him one, and his father should exist in an alternate universe and live. This is his way of keeping his father alive. So now Batman is messing with the space continuum, and things are going to go bad. And this is why I feel like Future State is going to be undone, and everything that's been going on is going to be undone, because it's one of the Time Masters that is talking to Batman. And he says, what you did once Rip Hunter finds out about it and gets all the other Time Masters together, they're going to undo what you did. They're going to go back in time and change things again. And this time, you might not be so happy with how things turn out. So he's like, you opened up a can of worms, and now it ends with him saying, you opened up a can of worms, Batman, and now we're going to force you to eat it. So I feel like by the end of this event, whatever Future State is supposed to end with, this book is going to I don't know, because this is DC, and apparently every so many years it soft reboots itself. So Future State's coming to an end. I feel like Flashpoint, maybe this is going to soft reboot something. Hopefully it'll fix what Bendis did to Superman. Who knows? But obviously, if the Time Masters come in, they're going to change the past or rewrite certain things in the past again, and we'll see what's rewritten. Maybe Alfred will come back. Maybe, like I said, we get a soft little reboot again for DC Comics, because there are a lot of books going in a lot of different directions, and I don't think they know where they're going at this point. So we'll see. Right now, DC Comics is in a place where a lot of their books are kind of like disjointed, so maybe this Flashpoint event will bring everything back together. I don't know, but I have been talking for 44 minutes. That is enough. That is the last book of this episode. So with that, that's all. Like I was going to mention, if you're watching this video, I'm going to try to post it up early on Friday. So this way, if you are watching and you'd like to know Dark Avenger live tonight, Friday night, I'm going to be doing it live on Twitch. And then we are going to be premiering it live on Monday next week. I'll be setting up the video to premiere live on Monday. So if you can't make it to Twitch tonight, as you're watching this, tomorrow night for me as I'm recording this, we will be live tomorrow night for about an hour, maybe longer, depending on the conversation. I like going live on Twitch right now. Not saying I won't go live on YouTube again at some point down the road. For right now, though, I am doing most of my live streaming on Twitch. So Chaotic Falcon 86, twitch.tv/Chaotic Falcon 86. Dark Avenger Live will be back. I'm looking forward to doing that. But anyway, with all that, that's it for this episode. Links again in the description below. Thank you all so much for being here. I love each and every one of you. Hopefully next episode for the books that came out yesterday I'll be reading those books soon, and we'll have the review up hopefully by the beginning of next week, and then we're just going to continue rolling. We got more videos coming. Actually, there was a video already recorded, so look forward to another video showing up on this channel soon, as well as little featurettes for something that's going to be coming in the near future on this channel as well. But till then, everybody, thank you all so much for being here. Take care. Keep reading, keep collecting, and I will be seeing all of you really soon in the next one. Later, everyone.